Hi everyone, welcome to another This Old Deck episode. So for this old deck, we're taking a look at something that uses a strategy of something, the book that I'm taking this out of, which is the Magic the Gathering official Deck Builders guide, and I'll include a link to the book so you know which one I'm talking about, because with a lot of these old decks I flip-flop between a couple of books that I've got. A couple of my favourite books in Magic, they go back way back to around the period of just 97 and just after. So yeah, this is actually from, I believe, 1997. That's when I think it was published. Looking in here, I think I've got that right. Yeah, came out in 97. So strategy is X power. In the book, and this is on page 103 of the book if you're following along with the book and you have the book, Big Balls o' Fire it's called. And the strategy, so I'm going to paraphrase out of what it's got here. So it says, fast mana is always important in Magic the Gathering, and no lands are faster than generating mana than Urzatron. So you'll see this has the Urza lands in it. So that's mine, power plant, tower. And the deck's designed to generate vast amounts of colourless mana for powering X-cost spells. So you have Disintegrate in here, Fireball, Karavek's Spite, Helm of Obedience, and Howl from Beyond. Once a set of Urza's lands is in its place, further lands will automatically form part of that Tron, coming in and adding mana at the higher level immediately. Candelabra of Taunus is in here, which we'll see is actually pretty expensive, and that helps generate mana as well because it's going to be untapping lands. So you can sort of do this thing where you're building up, mana through basically interesting interactions. And then you take that mana and obviously invest it in one of the X spells. You've got other support cards here, so ones that support creature control, better mana flow, ways of splashing colours, because of course in addition to the colourless X mana there is a coloured component on a lot of the spells you're going to be needing to use. So you've got things like Birds of Paradise, City of Brass, Gemstone Mine, Lotus Veil, a Drain Power, and then you've got some creature backup. So there's Jade Statue, Colossus of Sardinia in here. You notice it's not a heavy creature deck, but you can sort of see how some of the cards fit in with that theme of big X spells, and then a bit of tutoring going on as well. It's probably a pretty expensive deck actually. This is in the category of theme stunt decks in this section of the book. So I've noticed with the theme stunt section, it's a bit of a mixture of tournament cards and tournament decks and decks that are just like casual. But with the choices of cards in here and the time in Magic, the copies that were available at the time, some of these actually haven't been reprinted to any great degree, so they're still super expensive even in sort of more modern versions. But you can see already this is grand for the Candelabra of Taunus, and that's probably being quite generous, I should imagine. I suspect it's a lot more expensive than that. So yeah, interesting. Anything else? Oh yeah, there's a sideboard as well, and it is, at the time it was type 1 legal. So yeah, the book is subdivided generally into different types. However, when it gets onto the theme section, the types move around a bit. So you can have things like, type 1, type 2, type 1.5, that sort of stuff in here. So yeah, I think there is a dedicated section on classic type 1 as well in the book, alongside what might happen to come up in this section on theme decks, and these would also be referred to, I suppose, now as combo decks. Yeah. Anyway, let's have a look. So, 4 Candelabra of Taurus X. So 1 to play, and then has this ability where you can pay X and then untap X separate lands. Now, if you were dealing with the normal lands, it wouldn't really make any sense, because, okay, supposing you had, I don't know, 5 mountains, and you got to a point where you wanted to use this with 5 mountains in play, you tap the 5 mountains to untap the 5 mountains. However, in a Tron deck, it makes a lot more sense, because the lands synergize with each other. So an individual land, when power plant, tower, if it's mine, and the other combinations thereof, and we'll come to this in a moment, you can see that there's a lot more mana generated out of the lands than there are lands, if that makes sense. You can see 3 instead of 1, 2 instead of 1, 2 instead of 1. So yeah, that's how that works in combination with Candelabra. So it obviously works best when a single land is capable of producing multiple mana, because otherwise you're just twiddling, basically. So 3 Helms of Obedience, 4 to cast. Okay, so this one, X, put the top card of your target opponent's library into his graveyard. Continue doing this until you have put X cards or a creature card into the graveyard, whichever occurs first. If the last card put into the graveyard is a creature card, bury Helm of Obedience and put that creature into play under your control, as though it were just cast. X cannot be equal to 0. So notice you're putting the top cards of target opponent's library into their graveyard. But then, if you happen to hit a creature card in doing that process, and again it's scaling off the X here, so the more you do, the more likely you're going to hit a creature card. But once you get that creature card, you can put that into play under your control. 2 Icy Manipulators, 2 Icy Manipulators, 4 to cast. 1 tap target artifact, creature or land. So we've got some tap down here, so we can control our opponent. 2 Jade Statues, 4 to cast. For 2, Jade Statue becomes a creature for the duration of the current attack exchange. Can be a creature only during an attack or defense. So we'll go through these. I've picked out obviously a number of these cards to sort of drill down through a bit and explore in various ways. Creature wise, it's just 5 in total. Yeah, 3 Birds of Paradise, single green, 0/1, flying. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Plays the ability as a mana source. So yeah, we can go for any of the 5 colours that we might need in this deck. And you'll probably see which ones we have, which ones we haven't got. Colossus of Sardinia, 9 to cast for a 9/9. It's got trample. It doesn't untap during your untap phase. 9, untap it. Use the ability only during your upkeep. 4 Howl from Beyond, so that's an X and black spell where a target creature gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn. So you've got to have some creature to play that on, either the one you've got through Helm of Obedience or one of these ones. You could Howl from Beyond the Birds of Paradise. Now, of course, the downside with Birds of Paradise is, yeah, there's a lot of removal this could die to, just being a 0/1. And, you know, there's a number of burn spells around this time in this particular type, you know, type 1.5 in this format, which are going to blow up a bird. And a number of another number of cards which just can blow it up, regardless of what the power toughness is. 3 mystical tutors, single blue. Search your library for an instant interrupt, mana source or sorcery card, and reveal that card to all players. Shuffle your library and put the revealed card back on top of it. So pretty handy when you have quite a number of cards that would fall into that category, as you'll see in a moment. So, land base, 21 land. We have 4 City of Brass. Notice no basics. So 4 City of Brass will do all 5 colours of magic. However, when it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to you. We've got Gemstone Mine, which does the multicolours through the use of mining counters. So it comes into play with 3 mining counters on it. It doesn't come into play tapped, so you can use it straight away. But when you do tap it for 1 mana of any colour, it removes a mining counter. And if there's no mining counters on it, then yeah, you gotta bury it. When Lotus Veil comes into play, sacrifice 2 untapped lands or bury Lotus Veil. But once it's there, add 3 mana of any 1 colour to your mana pool. So it's another one that interacts nicely with Candelabra of Taurus once it's online, because it's 1 single land, but when it comes online, it's capable of producing 3 mana. But of course you have to bounce the lands. Now, one trick you can do, if you wanted to, is bounce an untapped Gemstone Mine before you use all the counters. Bounce it back to your hand and replay it with fresh counters on it. And we've got Undiscovered Paradise. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. At the beginning of your next untapped phase, return Undiscovered Paradise to its owner's hand. So yeah, we've got a number of, you know, tricky lands here that have a number of caveats on them you just have to be mindful of. Then we have the 4 copies of each of the Urza's Mines. Sorry, the Urza's Mine, the Power Plant and the Tower. Now I've just got the 5th editions ones here. There's other versions of them that would have been legal around that time. Also, you'll notice if we do get to look at these, which we will look at the Urza's Mine, you'll see that there's, you know, different artwork in some of the sets. So this one, the Urza's Mine, tap, add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. If you control Urza's Mine, a Power Plant and a Tower, then you get to add 2 colourless mana to your mana pool instead of just 1. With Urza's Power Plant, tap to add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool, so you can see a pattern here. However, if you control Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant and Urza's Tower, you add 2 colourless mana to your mana pool instead of 1. And then we get Urza's Tower. Again, tap, add 1 manaless colour, 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. If you, however, control the Mine, the Power and the Tower, which you would if this was in play, you would control at least the Tower anyway, add 3 colourless to your mana pool instead of 1. So you see how powerful that is. Now we get some interesting cards. So we've got Disintegrate, which is an X spell. Sorcery Speed. Disintegrate deals X damage to target creature or player. That creature cannot regenerate this turn if the creature is dealt lethal damage this turn, remove it from the game. So you can either blow up a creature or do direct damage to an opponent. Fireball, X and a red. This additional bit here where you can pay 1 for each target beyond the first. So you can split down the damage. So Fireball deals X damage divided evenly, rounded down among any number of target creatures and or players. But, as you see here, if you do choose to target beyond the first one, then you pay an additional 1 mana of any colour. Both of these, it's just single red. So as long as you've got a red mana source, so yeah, any one of these is capable of producing red mana, then you can Fireball with hopefully the requisite amount of colourless mana through the Tron lands. The Urza lands, should I say? Tron lands, the Urza lands. Carvex Torch, X and a red, another sorcery. So all three of these are sorceries. So you've got 4 of Disintegrate, 4 Fireballs, 3 Carvex Torch. Interrupts that target Carvex Torch each cost an additional 2 to play. So there's a degree of protection on this card. Carvex Torch deals X damage to target creature or player. 1 balance, 1 and a Y. Each player sacrifices enough lands to equalise the number of lands all players control. The player who controls the fewest lands cannot sacrifice any in this way. Any players then equalise cards in hand and then creatures in play in the same way. So you can see in this deck, if you've got all 3 Urza's land in play, so you've got a situation where you've got 3 lands, say, 1 of each, and then you've got capacity here to generate 2, another 2, so that's 4, another 3, which is 7 under perfect conditions, but just for 3 land. So for an opponent to do similar, if they're not running these and they're just running regular lands, to generate 7 mana, they'd have to have 7 lands in play. So if you've got these 3 in and an opponent's got, say, 7 or just more than 3, and you play a balance, you can see the advantage here. 1 Demonic Tutor, 1 and a black. Search your library for 1 card, then take it into your hand. Reshuffle your library afterwards. Drain Power, 2 blue. Target player draws all mana from all lands he or she controls. Put all mana from that player's mana pool into yours. And then 1 Wrath of God. 2 and 2 white, bury all creatures. Sideboard wise, so this would have just been appropriate for when the deck was created in terms of the meta. We've got 2 Enlightened Tutors, which goes after artifacts or enchantment cards, of which we have a number of artifacts in here, so that's pretty useful. We've got Swords to Plowshares, which will remove a target creature from the game. The creature's control gains life equal to its power, so if you're going up for a particularly tricky creature deck, then that's really useful to sideboard that in. We've got more Drain Powers. We've got 2 Howling Mines, which is interesting. So yeah, this is useful where you're going to get lots of acceleration, but across the board, so it's symmetrical. So during each player's draw phase, that player draws an additional card. So this sort of card is always useful to know to play once you know roughly what your opponent's deck's playing, and then you can work out whether it's an advantage in you both drawing cards, and you're going to race your opponent effectively. Ventifact Bottle, 3 to cast, 1 and an X, put X charge cancel on Ventifact Bottle, plays the ability as a sorcery, so it's levering the X spell nature of this deck. At the beginning of your main phase, if Ventifact Bottle has any charge cancel on it, tap Ventifact Bottle and remove all charge counters from it to add to your mana pool an amount of colourless mana equal to the number of charge counters removed. So it's another rather ingenious and intricate mana source. You can basically put stuff in. So again, after you played your first match, it's deciding, is there going to be an advantage in me basically being able to put aside mana. Another icy manipulator, if for some reason we want a bit more control in this deck. And then 3 Nevereinal's Disc for the cast. Comes into play tapped. And then when it untaps 1, tap it at any time. You can just have it sitting there. Destroy all artifact creatures and enchantments. So mass removal. This card, not surprisingly, is featured in quite a number of the decks we've been doing in this series. Okay, so let's just see where the mood takes us with these. So I've just picked out some interesting cards from here, mainly stuff I've not looked at before. So yeah, Candle Arbor of Tauros. Well, this is one of the reasons I picked this deck, actually, because there's a lot of stuff in here that we wouldn't have seen in any of these episodes. So a few rules here. Notice this is not a mana ability. And you may also untap your opponent's lands if desired. Yeah. Can be used on an untapped land as well, if you really wanted to. So let's have a look in here, because I'm curious with this episode a little bit more about synergistic cards. Bit too large there. That's fine. Okay. So you can see here the sort of things that it's synergizing with. Oh yeah. Mishra's Workshop. Or the sort of decks it would be in more, because it's not going to untap a Mishra's Workshop, but it's a useful card to use to invest the X mana. So that's the other thing, actually, I sort of forgotten here. I mentioned about, obviously, you want it in a position where the lands you're generating generate more than just one mana, but of course the same would be true of, if you've got artifacts in play, using artifacts which have a lot more mana in them than usual, and then you're sort of leveraging them. Actually, so what am I saying? This is a land, yeah. So yeah, sorry, I dial that back. So I looked at it and thought it was an artifact for some reason, but no, it's a land. So yeah, so that does work. Okay, I was wondering here whether they'd got any artifacts which produce so much mana. Oh yeah, like Black Lotus and Lotus Petal. Yeah, so it's worth using that as for this bit to generate that mana. So let's roll that back. So Mishra's Workshop is a land, even though to me, for some reason, I keep thinking it's an artifact. And of course, we've got things like Bustle Monolith as well, which is an artifact. I think that's where I get muddled up. Yeah, so any land that produces more than one mana, very synergistic. And also anything that untaps an artifact can be very useful. Helm of Obedience. So this is a mill. So it's an interesting combination going on here. Never been reprinted. So this is going to set you back, what, $27. Only ever turns up online. But what I find really curious about this card is so you're milling your opponent, but as a result of that mill, if you hit a creature, it's as if one or more creature cards were put into that graveyard this way. So the nice thing with this is the more mana you're able to invest, the more cards you can mill, and the more chances that's going to increase for you hitting a creature if they're actually playing creatures. But what's nice is it doesn't stop Oh, hang no, so it does, then I've got to be careful here. So then repeats the presence of the creature card or X cards. So yeah, sorry. So it does increase your chances of hitting a creature, but you only get to put, yeah, if one or more creatures were put into the graveyard this way. So let me just reread that. Target opponent mills a card, then repeats this process until a creature card or X cards have been put into the graveyard. Whichever comes first. If one or more creature cards were put into the graveyard this way, sacrifice Helm of Obedience and put one of them onto the battlefield under your control. X can't be 0. Okay. So yeah. So you don't get to put multiples out. What you do get put out is restricted by the rules text. Okay. Does that have a... So yeah, I was trying to think of the terms. So we've got theft of creature and mill, and it's a mana sink because of the fact you put X into it. Thought dissector. Okay. Dark steel. So now I'm curious, actually. Let me just go back to the candelabra, because I did go through here. Oh, that was it. Yeah, the magas of the candelabra. So if you're playing green, you do have later on in Magic access to this. Interestingly, it did come out in Time Spiral, so it does make a lot of sense. Okay. Right, Jade Statue. So this one's a bit easy to get hold of. There's later versions of it which are a lot cheaper, although not the same artwork. It's interesting it wasn't reprinted in, say, 4th. Took all the way until 9th to reprint it. Remember to have a quick look at the tagger first. Animate itself. Okay. Oh yeah, it's one of these ones. So, oh. Jumping around here because I keep forgetting to do certain things. Oh, that is okay. Yeah, it's a bit easier to spot. Missions Factory there. Oh, this is why I made them smaller, because it takes ages for this to render, probably. Roller was working great. That's funny. That's better. Oh wow, a number of interesting older cards here. Wow. Cyclopedia 2, wow. Old stuff. Old stuff. Right. We did go into there, didn't we? The other thing I didn't check with Helm of Obedience, yeah, lots of things that generate mana, not surprisingly. So I suspect what we'll see as we go through this, we come into here. Oh, actually, we've got a change here on the synergy side of things. I was expecting, similar things if this is an X spell deck. It'd be interesting when we get to the X spells themselves whether we start to see similar cards here. Good old Birds of Paradise. it's been reprinted quite a number of times. I'm sure. So when did I first become aware of it? I suppose when I opened the 10th edition. Even back then I was aware that it was quite pricey at that time. It's been in 2011, so it's been reprinted quite a few times. I think you're probably always going to look to pay no less than $5 for it by the look of things. I mean, there is something quite quirky about the original artwork. Oh yeah, I remember when I saw this for the first time, the 8th edition one is, and the 7th, they're quite different, aren't they? I think I did pull one of these. Right, where are we? Oh yeah, you got things like Elvish Mystic. I like this card, Jorah's Tree Speaker. So there's a lot of other green stuff here, not surprisingly. Mox Emerald. That'd be a pretty pricey cube. What was the one I was looking at the other day? Is it Elvish Mystic? I've been spending a lot of time at the weekend sort of going through my collection and, you know, just trying to sort things out just to make it easier for future videos where I'm doing stuff in paper. Right. So we have Colossals of Sardinia. Now, some of you might be, I don't know if you've ever seen the 4th edition one, and I think this is the one I probably, did I see, yeah, I'll have to check and see if I've got any 10th edition ones, because it did get printed in rare, but I'm pretty sure I have one. Yeah, I've got one of these. Can't remember which version though, probably not the Antiquities version. It's probably got to be 4th edition. Yeah. I do like this though, this is really nice, this artwork. So the list version, it's the 10th edition artwork, isn't it? Yeah. Untap self, but also doesn't untap. Annoyingly. Oh, one of these virtual legendaries. So yeah, this card represents one of a kind creature object that could conceivably have been a legendary. Usually cards are in this category because they were printed before legendary existed or have a mechanical need not to be legendary. It's that Depth Charge Colossus. Okay, wow. It's a bit of a chunky boy. Okay. Ability that untaps during your upkeep has been returned to an activated ability. There is no restriction how many times it can be untapped during your upkeep with this ability. Oh, okay. Interesting. Often drafted with, our usual friends here. some of these old school creatures is bring a smile to my face. Oh dear. Oh, good old serrated arrows. Primal clay. This has existed in quite a number of different versions. I'm pretty sure I do have a copy of Primal Clay. That's nice, that though. Was that the 6th edition version? What is this? Horn of Deafening. 4 to cast, 2 tap, target creature deals no... Oh, okay. So that's like a... Yeah. Really specific effect. Pretty cheap. So what is this? Yeah, it is just damage prevention. I feel strangely drawn to this card. It is an interesting way of dealing with certain egregious creature threats, because okay, it's a high casting cost and there is removal, which might work out better than this, but it is repeatable. I don't think, yeah. What similar cards have we got? Okay. Snaring Bridge. I keep forgetting about this feature actually. Howl from Beyond. Yeah, it's been reprinted a few times. Favourite artwork? I think I really like this one actually. Well, that's not too bad. It's a similar style, I suppose. Yeah. Got like either or. Oh, that'd be nice. Like border foil, 7th edition. And it's a common as well. Okay. Blood Curdling Scream. Oh yeah. We're going to get to a deck at some point actually where we're going to be looking at specifically a portal deck as well as part of the series. In fact, yeah, it's going to be the next episode after this. So I'm really looking forward to that because there's something about those cards. They look quite different. And I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously having the rules text really pop is, but yeah, it's really interesting. So I've picked a deck out of one of the books. This actual same book has a section on portal decks. So yeah, I'm gonna at least feature one from there very soon. Oh, Cackling Witch. Oh, there's the was it colour shifted one in red? So that must have, was that? Oh yeah, so it was colour shifted pre the set where they did a lot of colour shifting. I was also in the online. No, that's the paper one, isn't it? Yeah. I'm assuming that must have been whatever the red one was for that. Oh, good old gemstone mine with the counters. I just really like this card. It's got unique counters. You can do some bounce shenanigans on it, although it would mean not using all the counters up, because you have to be in a position where you still, it's not been blown up by the time you bounce it. Oh, yeah. And not too expensive. Not too expensive. It's been nicely reprinted up here. Yeah, I like that card. Yeah, I should use this a lot more, actually, similar cards. I always find that EDH Rec is pretty well behaved, generally. Oh, Tendo Ice Bridge. Right. I just chose to just look at one of these because they're all very similar, although the third one, the tower, does three instead of one. Yeah, adds multiple mana. It's an Urza's land, of which actually there's several which behave in, and so you got an interesting one like this. There's an one. You've got Urza's Saga as well. Workshop, Power Plant Mine, Tower, Factory, Cave, Nearby Planet. Again, there's a couple here which are under this category because they're every non-basic land type. Yep, it's in the ramp category. Okay. Similar cards, yeah. Oh, Cloud Post. Post, yeah, we got several here that, are similar because they can be copies of it. So Vesuva, Thespian Stage. Yeah. Just get that good old Thespian Stage. And then we've got all sorts of lovely some combos here. Another Candelabra. Well, Mage's the Candelabra, which is the one we looked at when we went down the Candelabra rabbit hole. It's Maze of Ith and the plants. The plants. Sorry, I keep calling them the plants. The Urza lands. I called them everything that they're not. I said the Trons, now they're the plants, but yeah, the Urza lands. Fireball. Okay, this is a classic because there's that combo of channel and then fireball. So you use your life to generate the mana, preferably early on in a game. Yeah, and you can see there's a number of X spells here that it's similar to. Bane Fire, Demon Fire, Starstorm, Rolling Thunder. Yeah, I keep forgetting to use this. This is really useful, actually. And then we've got Ventifact Bottle from Mirage. Again, something obscure that a lot of people, have never seen, which I quite like. Adds multiple mana, intervening if clause, it's mana rock. So yeah, very interesting way of storing mana and then using it. We've got this Chiron toy, which I don't know if anybody's seen before. When we did the Mercadian Masks episode way back, when I went through the set, this probably came up then. And there are other cards that do the whole mana storage thing. So the mana batteries are probably the earliest ones, or some of the earliest ones that spring to mind. And if we do release date and is first printing, which we've done before here, so I've been down this rabbit hole before. I do try and avoid going down the same rabbit hole week in, week out, but it's quite hard sometimes. Yeah, so we've got the batteries, we've got these lands from Fallen Empires, which we've probably mentioned quite a few times. Yeah, and so on. Oh, of course, yeah, these as well. Macadian masks. And, you know, various cards here have various ways of putting counters on them. Some you can, you know, you might be able to bounce or do certain things to abuse the counters in different ways. Like, you know, there's obviously some proliferate shenanigans you can do, I imagine, if you're playing cards from, you know, all over Magic's history. But if I go into here again, Overflowing Chalice. It's nice if you just get 6 cards. I mean, I'm going to have to remember to do this when I'm looking for similar cards, actually, because it is nice and neat. And then if I wanted to, I could do this, which is always fun. Eternity Vessel. I always really loved this artwork. I'm not sure if I have one of these or not. And things like Lux Cannon, Coalition Relic. For some reason I always thought this was really expensive, but I don't know if it's because it got reprinted. Maybe. Oh, there's so many classic mana generators there. Yeah. This is super surreal. At some point, if I'm ever buying cards online again, like singles, which I do occasionally, maybe I just have to remember to just track this down so I've got a copy of it. Cool. So I think I might as well stop it there. That was really interesting. I avoided sort of going down the tutor rabbit holes because basically we had been there before. What I was curious though is in the case of Mystical Tutor, what this can yeah, so search it over for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, and then shuffle and put in your library. Instant or sorcery card. Okay. Good. Sorcery card. Yeah, this is because it would have said, back then it would have said interrupt, because interrupts were a thing. It also says mana source as well. Interesting. But then that was changed. Oh, that's right, isn't it? Because, yeah, now the penny's just dropped. Yeah, this is where you have to be really careful with the wording on these, because you think, oh, mana source, what's that? Is that a land? But, oh, what's the name of the card now? I'm trying to think of the, oh, flipping heck. It was categorised as a mana source, because it used to be printed on the card here. On some of them, pretty sure. So it's hang on, black, single. Yeah, its names is on the tip of my tongue, and I just cannot colour is 1. And sort by mana value ascending. Oh, come on, where are you? I'm going to kick myself when I find it because I know... Ah, there we are. Dark Ritual. That's it. I'm pretty sure if we look at an early version of this... No, I'm wrong. Damn. There was... Oh, yeah. There we go. Look. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I thought it had that on it at some point. So can you see that? So it goes from being an interrupt to being a mana source to being an instant. So, actually I could have done this easier, couldn't I? I could have just said type. Yeah. That would have been a better way to do it, wouldn't it? Oh dear me. I wonder if it just doesn't. Yeah, maybe that you can't search for that anymore because it's been errated. It's annoying. There's probably a way of doing it, but I just can't remember it off the top of my head. It's unfortunate. It's deprecated card type. I think most of these are going to be interrupts, aren't they? So yeah, culling the weaks, a mana source. As we've seen, Dark Ritual, it has been both interrupt and a mana source at some point. Yeah, okay. Let's try. Nabba. Maybe I misspelled it. That's the other possibility. Yeah. That's odd though, isn't it? I never even thought about that. Summon mana birds. Yeah, you can go to... Yeah. It's on there. Yeah, that's a really interesting mini side quest there you could go on. So there we have it. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.